All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I caught this very interesting segment on the Rachel Nichols show, The Jump. And I was so happy to hear Paul Pierce attest to something that I've stated numerous times already on this channel, especially in highlighting my top 10 all-time NBA players. There's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy between my top 10 and Paul Pierce's top 10, but at least he understands who was the better Laker between Magic Johnson and Kobe Bean Bryant. This was a very interesting discussion, so of course they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Wait, how nice for the Lakers franchise that you can even have this conversation. This, by the way, led to one of a version of our conversations the other day, which is when you talk about who the best Laker has been, right? You've got a guy like LeBron James, who, again, people would say is in the top 2 or 3 of all time.
What people would say that? You mean you guys over at ESPN who want to put LeBron James either behind Michael Jordan or behind Michael Jordan and Kareem? Right now, in my view, once again, in my view, my top 5 all-time are Michael Jordan, Kareem, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. I will say this. With the season that LeBron James is having this year, if the Lakers win the championship, I'm going to have to put him above Larry Bird. Some people might say, what are you talking about? LeBron's been great for 17 years. Look, I'm not going to go too much into this, but LeBron James, man, and a lot of his fans are not going to like this. It's very clear that LeBron James is on a special type of gasoline. You might not like it. It's okay. It was brought to the forefront the year that he left the Miami Heat and went back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. When he lost all that damn weight, went back down to Miami and came back looking like the Incredible Hulk. It's very, very obvious. So when I compare LeBron James, I look at career achievements in comparison to Larry Bird's career achievements. And basically, Larry Bird was able to do in his first 7 or 8 years what it's taken LeBron James twice the time to do. Larry Bird won 3 championships in an era where he had to go back and forth with the Philadelphia 76ers, the Detroit Pistons, and the LA Lakers. And he also won 3 straight MVPs. LeBron James has 4 MVPs, and he has only won 3 championships. So that's the comparison right now, in my view. If Larry Bird does not hurt his back, if he has access to some of the training techniques and the quote-unquote additional serums and performance-enhancing drugs that some of these players have today, I'm not going to say quote-unquote LeBron, even though his name was on the biogenesis ledger. Who knows? Larry Bird might have 35,000, 40,000 points. Who the hell knows? Please keep in mind, Larry Bird won the NBA Most Valuable Player Award in 1984, 85, and 86. He finished second in 87 and 88. And I believe he finished second or third in 82 and 83. So this guy was dominant from the time that he stepped onto a basketball floor until he got hurt in 1988. LeBron James has had a spectacular career. Incredible player. If he's able to win the championship this year, I'll put him above Bird, but not until then. But just getting back to the point, those are my top 5 guys. Jordan, Kareem, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird. And that would make Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the best player to ever play on the Lakers. But the best Laker, in my view, is Magic Johnson, because he's the best player to start and end his career playing for that team. If we're going to start talking about the best Lakers of all time, then it's Magic Johnson, it's Kobe Bryant, it's Jerry West, it's Elgin Baylor, it's James Worthy, those type of players. But they might not necessarily be the best players to ever play for that franchise, because now you're talking about the Wilts, the Kareems, the Shaqs, the LeBrons, the ADs. Now, when you intermix all those players, some of the lifelong players who play for that franchise are better than some of the guys who came in as free agents. But, I mean, that's a whole other discussion for another day. Right now, AD, I'm not even quite sure if you could put him in the top 40 players of all time yet. He hasn't accomplished enough.
Never call him the best Laker because he hasn't won anything there, right? He just got here. So you have a weird situation where he might be the best player to put on a Laker uniform. Although people will talk about Kareem, by the way.
Kareem is the best player to ever wear a Laker uniform.
Not the best Laker. Would you say Kobe or Shaq is the best Laker? Or Kareem?
The best Laker ever is Magic Johnson. But let's pay very close attention to what Paul Pierce states. And kudos to him for saying this.
We all know Magic is the best Laker.
Thank you, Paul Pierce. Let me rewind this back a little bit.
say Kobe or Shaq is the best Laker or Kareem?
Well, we all know Magic is the best Laker. I mean, he has 5 titles. He's won 3 MVPs in them.
Kudos to Paul Pierce for knowing that Magic Johnson won 3 regular season MVPs. A lot of people might not understand that. Magic won his MVPs in 87, 89, and 90. And finished second in 91, the year that Michael Jordan won it. You know, that's the year that a lot of the Michael Jordan haters claim that Magic Johnson fell off a cliff, and that's why Michael was able to beat him in the finals.
Uniform.
Right.
What he's accomplished in that uniform.
Right, I guess that's the point, right?
What,
So
yeah, what he's accomplished
yes.
in, like Kareem is great, but Magic accomplished more in that uniform.
Well, Kobe's got 5 titles in that uniform.
Yeah, but Magic still accomplished more in a Laker uniform. I mean, they both got 5 titles, but Magic's trump card is the MVPs right there.
Thank you, sir.
Magic is the all-time Laker. The guy whose name, and it just happened again, who never gets mentioned in the best Laker of all time, not even a mention, is Jerry West.
Because Jerry does not really deserve it. He's 1-8 in the finals. They felt so sorry for Jerry West that they gave him a Most Valuable Player award in a finals that he lost. And Jerry West, to his credit, states that he's embarrassed by that because he knows he had no business getting a Most Valuable Player award in a finals that he lost. How the hell can you be the Most Valuable Player when your team lost? They could have lost without you. So therefore, you had no value. You could not be the most valuable player when you lose. You could be the most outstanding player, but not the most valuable.
Be mentioned, he's one of the greatest players of all time. He's a million-time All-Star. They made the finals a ton of times in a row. And if not for the Bill Russell Celtics, he may be a 4 or 5-time champion. And then he's in
I
this
got one
conversation.
for you. Hold on, I got one real quick. Since we saying Magic is the best Laker,
Right.
why do we hear conversations about Kobe being the greatest?
Because these Kobe fanboys out here love to talk shit and don't know what the hell they're talking about. But great question, Paul Pierce. I've asked this on YouTube for the last 3 years. I have no idea why they do this.
Well,
Where's Magic fit in that conversation?
He doesn't fit in because they don't know anything that occurred before 2000.
Like of all time?
Of all time. There's an argument that Kobe is up there with Jordan
that's why
second
when
or
I said
third.
to you, who's the
The media and his fanboys claim that Kobe is up there second or third. Kobe Bryant is a top 15 all-time player. That doesn't mean that I have him at 15. I think that you can argue Kobe with some of the other players that I have from 11 to 15. That being players like Dr. J, Oscar Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, Moses Malone. Those type of players you can argue alongside Kobe and figure out where they fit from 11 to 15. I'm sure that a lot of Kobe's fanboys out there are incredulous. They're like, what is this fool talking about? You don't understand what I'm talking about because you don't know anything about the NBA prior to 2000. If you did, you know why I have some of those players that high. Isaiah Thomas was able to defeat Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan in the playoffs and should have defeated them all multiple times. The Pistons should have beat the Celtics in the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals were it not for Isaiah Thomas throwing the basketball away. They should have defeated the Lakers in '88 were it not for Isaiah Thomas damn near breaking his ankle when he fell down. So he was literally 2 miscues away from defeating Magic Johnson multiple times in the finals and defeating Larry Bird multiple times in the Eastern Conference Finals. And we know that he defeated Jordan 3 times in the Eastern Conference playoffs. So you have to put some respect on Isaiah Thomas's name. When it comes to Dr. J, this is a player who has over 30,000 points when you combine the ABA and the NBA and carry the NBA as the ambassador of the league from the late 70s all the way through the early 80s when Magic and Bird were ready to take over. That's why he's that high. When you talk about Moses Malone, you're talking about a player who won, 2 or 3 MVP awards and had about 12 or 13 straight seasons, averaging over 20 points a game and over 10 or 11 rebounds a game. This guy was dominant and was arguably the best player on the best team of the 80s. There are many people who think that the 1983 Sixers were the best team of the 80s, better than the 86 Celtics, better than the 87 Lakers. So that's why you have to put respect on these players' names. Then, of course, you have the great Oscar Robertson. Dominant player, had the IQ of LeBron James, was a more proficient, less athletic version of Russell Westbrook, and as soon as he joined another great player, they were competing for titles every year. Unfortunately, he was not able to join Kareem until he was like 32, 33 years old. or he would have won 3 or 4 titles, Oscar Robertson.
If Magic is the best Laker, where does he fit? If he's better than Kobe.
Above Kobe.
All right.
Thank you. Finally, some people talking some damn sense.
So, young generation, please get YouTube. Watch these Magic Johnson highlights.
That's the problem. They have YouTube already. They just spend too much time laid up in the bed, all curled up with their Kobe jersey on, sucking on a lollipop, watching Kobe Bryant highlights. That's the problem.
Because Magic was defining for the game of basketball in the 80s.
Well, there you go. I would say, though, to your Jerry West point, if we did have the Shaq and Kobe 2-on-2 versus LeBron and AD, but then they called Jerry West on to be like 3-2 with them against Shaq and Kobe, then you've got something.
Why would they do some dumb shit like that? They would call Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain on, and then they would have a tournament to see who was the best combination of 2 men in the Laker history. That's what they would do. They wouldn't call Jerry West on to be a 3rd guy. What you said made no damn sense.
There you go.
Kind of lost track of where that all went. But
Prime Jerry West.
Both the dudes on the panel, son Rachel Nichols, they're like, what are you talking about? We know that it's your show, so we're not going to embarrass you too much. But anyway, I was just happy to see 2 people on the panel who were talking sense when it came to Kobe beating Bryant. No, Kobe is not a top 10 player of all time, even though Paul Pierce slipped him in there for whatever reason. He's not top 10 of all time. He's somewhere in between 11 and 15. And Magic Johnson is the greatest Laker in the history of that franchise. But anyway, peace.